there's been quite a bit of interest with this little winter wafter rig that I've been using over the last year or so. Last winter I've done really well on it, so I thought I'd sort of like run through a few of the components that help to go toward making it up. I've had quite a few people ask me about it, so basically I use the IQ2 because it's a lot more supple than the standard fluorocarbon you can get. But I'm just going to run you through how I go about putting it together with a size 10 wire gapes. Um, just going to stand a whipping knot through the eye. Always start the whipping on the other side of the eye, not where the eye joins the shank. I'm going to go around 12 times. Cinch it down so it's nice and tight, and then we're going to go back up it twice, and back through. The eye. So quite straightforward. Just a standard whipping knot. Just keep it nice and tidy. Keep all your whippings all nice and neat. And make sure you go back up there once or twice, 2 or 3 times rather. And then what I do is I like to snip it off there. This saves you using 2 beads. You haven't got to use 2 beads for the ring stop. So what I like to do is I like to do that, cut it off there, and then just let that go down to there, form its own little blob, and it'll form its own little stop. Okay, and then from there, what I like to do is I like to add a little kicker, which I make up myself. What I usually do is cut them up so that they're pre-made, so I've not got to muck about on the bank. I've just already got them made up. It just saves sort of like fiddling about as well. You know, when you've got really cold fingers and it's a bit bitter, it just saves mucking around. That's there's the little kickers, and then all I do is literally thread it on the hook link, pass it through, pull it up the hook link, and just slowly tease it over the eye and click it into place like so. And they're just standard, the standard cold dart shrink tube that I use. And what I do is I cut little slivers off, maybe 10 or 15 of the slivers, and I'll slot them over a hook that's not whipped, just a bare hook. Hold it over the kettle and just bend them down and then pull them off. Bend them down, pull them off. And I do them on a size 10. And then when you use them on a size 8, because the hook's a little bit bigger, you'll find that they'll click on really tight on a size 8. But it just saves you messing around with a kettle. It's great in the middle of summer, but in the middle of winter, it's the last thing you want to do. So anyway, that's the basis of it. There, ring swivel. Thinking anglers make them. I think Leadshed do them. There's a couple of guys that do them. But they're really nice. They've got that big swivel on the end, but they're tiny in comparison. That goes over the point, and we pull it down. But as you can see, that blobbed bit of mono stops that ring from going over it now. And then what I do is I get a little avid bead. I like these particular ones because they're oval. They've got a better profile. It's really hard to see them on that, you can just make out. But they're oval. They're not round. They sit nice on the hook shank. They're not hard rubber and they're not soft rubber. So if you want to get them off and change things over, you can. Sometimes I find some of the others are really hard and they're a bit difficult to get off. But anyway, so I like to use these ones, the avid ones. Put the point into the little hole that's already there. Push it round. Just have it round about 3 or 4 mil from the blobbed section of mono. You can see it there. like that. Okay, and then from there on, all we do literally is we grab a bit of our corn, and you can use 1 or 2 pieces for this. And a slim baiting needle, push it through the centre of the corn. Now this is another little sort of thing to look at, is that when I mount this onto the hook itself, I want it to sit over the hook. So if that's the hook like that, I want it to sit over the hook. That's how it's going to sit. So I'm going to mount it on that swivel so it sits upright. So when I put the needle through, I want to put it through this side of the cone. You can, if you want, put it through that side of the cone and have it sitting up. It will sit up. Does it make any difference? I don't know. But if you think about a natural grain of corn when it lands on the floor, or the lake bed rather, that's how it lands most of the time. So that's my theory behind it, and that's what I like. That's how I like to mount them. So put the needle through there. So take your corn, put your needle through centre, grab yourself a bit of floss, about 4 inches of floss, give yourself plenty, and what we'll do is we'll grab our swivel, we'll pass the floss through it and pull it through so you have both tag ends in your hand. Put it onto your latch, pull the latch over and pull it through your corn. You want to put it down so that the swivel sits into the corn nicely, just so that it just covers. There's no protruding swivel, and it's the bottom of the barrel is just under it. And then we get our 2 bits of tag end, and we just pass it through the big loop once, twice, 3 times, and pull it down nice and neat, and then cut off the tag, give that a little burn, take it down so it's nice and tidy, and then that will sit in the water like that. So it sits more or less covering the hook. Yep, and it's a really effective rig. It surprised me really, because I thought it's a bit tight to the shank. It looks a bit, don't know, it does look a bit complicated, but when you think about it, it's really uncomplicated, because it's just got, all that is a swivel, a tiny little swivel on the shank of the hook with a ring stop. There's loads of rigs sort of, I suppose, a bit like it, but most people mount corn on a hair, or they have double corn, but I've not actually seen it myself that's been mounted like that, and since I've been using it, I've been doing really well on it. So that's how you go about it, quite straightforward. And then at the other end, obviously, we'll just do a normal loop, with a twist in the loop before you pull the loop through, and then that'll just give you your figure of 8 knot. That's nice and tidy. Always moisten that down a little bit. One of your pullers. And pull it through. So it's nice and tidy. And I always do that little figure of 8 now, because it makes it nice and straight. When you look at how straight that is, it's nice and straight. It's not kinking off or going off at an angle. It's just nice and straight. Yeah. So there you go. That is your finished rig from start to end. Give it a go.